The vote environment stand part of the schedule. I call Charles Chauvel.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. Mr Chairman, it seems that the National Party has no problem acknowledging that the environment is an important economic issue when they're presented with an opportunity to dig some of it up, send it offshore and burn it. It's odd then that when it's pointed out to members of that party that our carefully balanced natural environment is the very thing on which our future economic success depends, they're a lot less willing to agree. It's fair to assume that their reluctance to see this simple truth explains many of the damaging cuts that have been made to the environment, vote and to conservation while this government has held office. And these cuts and this government's neglect for the most important part of our economy are what I want to address my remarks to this evening. Sir, if this budget reveals one thing about this government's plan for the environment, it is that there isn't one, except for the intention to intensify mining and dairying, which will work to the detriment of our economy in the long run, rather than providing the many benefits which would have been gained from the sorts of investments like clean tech, which so far have been completely ignored. Sir, in regard to mining, I think it's very important that we have this on record. This government has no regard for the natural environment or for the clean image which our country relies on. They have no respect for the importance of preserving our national parks, and given the chance, they would have little regard for public opinion and the fact that many New Zealanders absolutely cherish our natural assets. Let's get it clear, the government's mining backdown was just like a dog running away with its tail between its legs, a late attempt to cover for having made themselves look bad. It changes neither the government's true intention nor their disregard for the land protected under Schedule 4 of the Crown Minerals Act. At another point in time, their move might have been different. Given the chance, it's clear from the rhetoric that we've heard over the past months that if it has the chance, this government will mine our most precious conservation estate, and this is something New Zealanders should and will remember, sir, at the next election. Sir, if the National Party truly cared about the environment, they would have invested in it in this budget, but they didn't. They failed even to compensate for the degrading cuts made in the first budget of this government's term in office. There's been no attempt to correct the slashing of funds to great programs like Enviro schools. Thank goodness so many schools have just got on and found the money out of their existing budgets, even though they've had to scrimp and save out of other areas in order to continue those programs. No attempt, sir, to remedy the fact that they cut all initiatives to promote a carbon-neutral public service. Never mind that the public sector accounts for a whole third of our economic activity. The government know that they're ignoring the need to invest in sustainability to the extent that they've actually tried to mislead people into thinking that they have. For instance, they've tried to portray an extra $500 million appropriated to the emissions trading scheme as an extra investment, when in reality it just represents a change in the uptake in credits for forestry. Thank goodness there is that uptake, but at least, Minister, represent it factually and honestly, not misleadingly in the budget documents. And it's this deliberate deception which is most worrying. It shows that National know they should be investing in sustainability and in our future, but they choose not to. They just try to fool people into thinking that they are. Mr Chair, this government doesn't seem to understand the urgency of building a sustainable economy, as they're choosing inaction over action in so many areas. For example, we've seen them stall in areas such as air quality and freshwater management under the guise of not rushing into decisions, but in reality just giving in to pressure from their industry allies who don't want to pay their fair share for the pollution they cause. For example, industry have been given an extra 5 years to prepare for their new air quality standards, the introduction of which the Minister has pushed back all the way to 2018. Similarly, their changes to the Resource Management Act will make it a lot easier to move through the consents process, but they'll fail to protect the environment in any way, again, just helping their allies abuse our environment without having to pay for the abuse. But, sir, without questioning, the most damaging and the most unfair thing this government's done in the area of the environment is its changes to the emissions trading scheme. It's just like the areas I mentioned before. This is a case of the National Party helping its allies out by subsidising their pollution rather than doing what's right and fair and making them pay for what they actually emit. And as if this weren't bad enough, The people who pay the price for this are ordinary Kiwis, through increased power prices, along with other policies like the rise in GST, Mr Chair.
I call Charles Chevelle. Oh, sorry, you're right.